Next is from Peter Stevenson. Hello, Peter. Subject is management hypocrisy. Jeff Hardy versus Vince McMahon. Quote, speculation. Greetings, K100 crew. Getting right into it. So I've seen a lot of smart marks trying to bury Jeff Hardy because the way Jeff departed from WWE recently. The thing is, Jeff is 44 years. Boy, he's 44 years old? Wow, he looks younger than that. The thing is, Jeff is 44 years old with a history of injuries. A full-time schedule will undeniably raise his propensity to drink or take pills, so Jeff does not feel pain. If you lump in the full-time traveling schedule, it becomes disastrous. I do not understand how Vince hired Jeff expecting him to be full-time when the same standard he did not apply to Kurt Angle. Jeff has publicly said he wanted to become the Universal Champion. I think that Vince just wanted to show his dominance over Jeff by having him job to Roman at Royal Rumble. Jeff did not need Vince's push to stay over. No disrespect to Roman, but Roman is not Jeff Hardy. Most people want Jeff to be champion one last time, and the crowd reaction has proved it. So if Jeff drank to get released, I would not fault him.
Okay.
Questions. Conan. I had a question. Here's a question. So the question was for Conan. Since you've been managing promotions booking, how would you handle a guy like Jeff Hardy with a history of injuries but still over? And Disco, what would you do if you were in Jeff's shoes? You were known for telling the management to F off, so I'd like your perspective as well. Thanks for reading my email. P.S. Conan's rules do not apply to top guys like me. I want to know something else, Disco, besides besar mi trasero, nada, whatever that is. This guy, yeah. I think this guy took a shot at me, so suspend him from the mailbag for a week.
Since when do you have a reputation for being someone who would tell the management to off?
When I told them I wouldn't do the job for Jackie, but that was not I had a reputation that was a one-time situation.
But there's a perfect example of what I was talking about. Boom.
What?
There goes the dynamite. One thing can happen, and suddenly you've got a reputation.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Okay. Perfect example. Yeah. I don't know, Jay. I'm fascinated that there was a pitcher in the for the Los Angeles Dodgers many years ago called Steve Howe. Okay, the guy was a drug addict. Okay, but he was a really good pitcher. I think he got suspended from baseball like 7 times until they finally just kicked him out. Right. And it's kind of weird. I guess it kind of like knew like maybe this was a guy that like that if you take baseball away from him, it may be worse. Like his life could end up worse. I wonder if that's like always been the thing with Jeff Hardy getting second chances all the time. Is that like if you just took away wrestling, they've kind of known that things probably won't end up very well for him. But it's like how many second chances can this guy's had like 50? It's got to be double digits. Like I can count on at least 5 or 6 or 7 times that this guy's been like sent home or
Wait a minute.
Go ahead.
So let me say this. I love Jeff Hardy.
I do too.
As a performer, he's fantastic. As a human being, he's an incredible guy. One of the nicest people you'll ever meet in any walk of life. His family are fantastic. His wife Beth is a sweetheart. His daughter Ruby is incredible. I mean, they are good people. And as a professional, I've worked with Jeff many times. Jeff did a lot for me in TNA. He's up there for me, top 3 best sellers of all time. He's up there with Steamboat, Ricky Morton, Shawn Michaels. He's you can't teach that. And he sold his ass off for me. Always went out of his way to be gracious and to do whatever was needed to sort of, get me where they wanted me to be. Jeff Hardy, TNA, everyone, you worked at TNA, and it wasn't that different from after you left to, for the rest of the time that I was there. The house shows were never that strong. The UK ones were great. The European ones in general were pretty strong. And every now and then we'd do the Northeast to Brooklyn or something like that. And we might end up, and we'd get a real good house. But there was always some fundamental issues there with the house shows. We could have a WrestleMania level lineup. You look at some of the TNA house show lineups from back in the day, and they could read like a WrestleMania card today. AJ Styles, Kurt Angle, Samoa Joe, Bobby Roode, Scott Steiner, Booker T, these different guys. Now, I can tell you, there was a period, probably around 2012, something like that, where a number of us sort of reinstalled the tradition of thanking someone for the house, and it was Jeff. Because we would go to these house shows, and it was so plainly obvious that if Jeff Hardy were not on that show, that it would have had to be cancelled. more than 3/4 of the people in that building had come to see him. And so there was a little group of us, like myself, Robbie E, the Crimson, a few other guys who we like. I'll never forget this. Robbie and I were sat there once, Robert Stone in NXT. We were sat there doing a meet and greet one time, and I remember just like Jeff had to do a meet and greet before the show, a VIP, double VIP, platinum, diamond, VIP, whatever. Then he has to do one in the middle of the show. Then he wrestles in the main event, and then he's going to do pictures in the ring after the show, just to keep the lights on, right? And I never, and I remember sitting there one time, and this was when like I looked at Robbie and I said like, sounds kind of weird and like a little bit markish, but I almost feel like we should be thanking Jeff for the house. And he goes, I was about to say the same thing. It's like this pulling the wagon, and he never complained. He never came back and was like mad about this or mad about that. And there were things on the TNA house shows that could get you a bit pissed off. Like you could. Sometimes there were stuff where you'd be like, "Are you kidding me?" I never saw him lose his temper. Never saw him like cut a promo on anyone. Never saw him like lose his on anyone. Always had time for every fan, every person, every like arena employee, every single person. And like people just I think that you need that for context to know what kind of whatever caused him to do what he did at that WWE show. Whatever's going on has to be so much worse than some innocuous like thing that. So I'm just trying to say that just to illustrate context of what a professional and what a good human being he is, to know that like whatever's going on, okay, like he needs to go home and get himself right. I don't know.
Well, here, let me ask you this. Because this is twice. This is a guy that said two times now, and then we know all the things. Like everybody likes Jeff Hardy. Everybody's had much respect, but like this is two separate times that he's been unprofessional in front of the people. The match with Sting, and this thing with the house show where he just wandered away and climbed over the. This is like, it's like you want to give the guy a pass all the time, but like as management, it's like you're risking putting the guy in front of people where he could be. This is multiple times this has happened. It's an obvious concern. So why? Let me ask a question.
Why is he working house shows?
That's what I'm saying. Why is this happening though?
Right. He shouldn't be. I mean, look, just my opinion. Yeah. I'm not a booker. I'm not in charge of WWE. I don't know his contract, any of that stuff. And whatever. I don't think at this point with he's put his body through for the audience. Yes, he's made very good money, but remember, whatever money he's made them 10 times as much. Okay, so for the amount of money and income and revenue he's generated for multiple companies, okay, and given the point I just made about him basically keeping the lights on for us at Impact at TNA, like, has he not at this point earned the right to be able to go, hey man, I think I heard Roman wants to work with him. Yeah, he should. Like, Roman's smart. I would put Jeff in my top 5 favorite opponents of all time. It's impossible to have a bad match with Jeff. He's that over and that good. Like, they're the two things you need. You know this, Glenn. The two things you need to have a successful pro wrestling match. Not a good pro wrestling match based on, star ratings, but a successful pro wrestling match. One that takes the people on a ride and gets them to suspend their disbelief and gets them to emotionally invest and feel satisfied with the outcome. You need a guy who is good, and you need a guy who is over. Jeff is both of those things and then some. So yes, he should be working on top, but maybe he just needs to come in and work a program for a few weeks and finish up a pay-per-view. Like, you can't. I mean, at this point in his career, with his Q value and his style, like that seems like a no-brainer. And I hope that they can work that out. But you don't need to be running him hard on the house shows. Yeah. I had the same conversation, by the way, with TNA about Kurt.
Yeah.
Because Kurt's working house, he's working 6-man tags with his leg taped up, and I'm going like, what are we doing here, guys? Like, just from a commercial standpoint, just from a business standpoint, like, you've got your most valuable asset out here, and you're running him into the ground so that like 1,500 people in West Virginia can, be having come on, man, think long term.